Have you ever felt like you're capable of something so much more, but yet there's something holding you back? You probably have heard of limiting beliefs, but this is way beyond limiting beliefs. This is a limiting identity. Stick around in this video and we'll show you how to break that limiting identity that's holding you back. To understand how limiting identities hold you back, let's look at 3 stories that you may have heard before, even on this channel, but we'll go through them because they'll help you. The first one is the caged bird. There's a bird that's in a cage. It lives its whole life in a cage. One day the doors open, but it doesn't fly out because its identity is that of a caged bird. And so it stays inside. Now that's much like many of us. We get an identity, maybe it's something we don't want, but yet we keep that identity even when we have the chance to break free and do something else. So if you feel stuck in a job, you feel stuck in a relationship, you feel stuck in whatever it is, you are not trapped. But the belief that you are trapped and that is your identity, that's what keeps you trapped, just like that caged bird. The next story is one of my favorite ones, and that is the eagle who thought he was a chicken. And again, who are you around? Who are you hanging with that's causing you to believe you are a certain way? Because in this story, the eagle grew up being raised by chickens, and it thought it was a chicken. It did everything chickens did. It clawed, it clackled, it scratched, but it did not fly up into the air like an eagle could, because it did not think it was an eagle. It thought it was a chicken, and chickens only fly a foot off the ground and come back down. So for you, what is it that you've adopted, that you believe about yourself that isn't true, but yet that belief is holding you back? And it's not just a belief, it's an identity. It's a limiting identity, because you're saying, I can't do that. Just like the eagle said, I can't fly high in the sky. I can't do this. You have a lot of things that you're capable of doing, but you have limited yourself. And think about, what am I doing that is limiting me? What are the possibilities that I could be doing if I was open to who I truly was and what my talents and gifts actually were? All right, the last story I'm going to tell you is about the golden Buddha. And there was this golden Buddha that got covered up because they were afraid that invaders would try to steal it, so they put these layers of mud over the top of the golden Buddha. But over time, people kind of forgot about what was below it. They just knew, hey, this was Buddha. It was kind of this clay Buddha. No big deal. That happened for hundreds of years. Then there was a crack in the clay, and they saw the gold underneath. And they're like, whoa, this thing is way more valuable than we thought. And it was a golden Buddha. It was there all along. So you've put a lot of clay layers over the top of you to hide who you are, to mask your true feelings, to not stand out, perhaps. Maybe you've had some gifts and talents, but you didn't feel comfortable about them, so you kind of like covered them up. And you, in essence, became like the golden Buddha. So what you need to do is peel those layers off and see the true gold that's in you, rather than letting those layers of clay cover up the true you. Those were 3 stories that are great, but then I wanted to bring in one more for the modern times, and that's Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela started out in the 1960s, he was a militant activist, and he was trying to get apartheid ended in South Africa. But the way he was doing that was through violence and being militant and very aggressive. He got thrown in prison, and he was there for 27 years, released in 1990. But during his time in prison, he had a major transformation in his identity. He went from being a militant, angry person to someone that says, hey, let's be a peacemaker. And then he became a statesman. So he turned himself totally around. He transformed himself. He literally took his limiting identity of that of a struggling person. We got to fight people. We got to resist, to that of, no, I can rise above all this. I can be a peacemaker, and then he ended up becoming a world statesman, someone that people loved and recognized around the whole globe. But he did that because he let go of his limiting identity and he embraced a better identity, a truer identity, and then that made all the difference. And he was able to then negotiate, he was able to forgive, he was able to do things that he could not do if he kept that militant identity. Now, if we look at yourself, what are things that you are doing that you're holding on to, that if you hold on to them, you're not going to be able to go where you want to go? So if you have a limiting identity, you think, I'm not good enough, this won't work out, I don't have the skills, I'm still angry, whatever it might be, if you're holding on to that, you're never ever going to get to where you want to be. You have to let go of that. Just like the caterpillar can never become a butterfly until it lets go of being a caterpillar and fully embraces being a butterfly. People talk about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Well, you also have a fixed identity and a growth identity, an identity that can change and evolve, because your identity is not fixed unless you believe it is and unless you keep it that way. So take a minute and reflect. What are parts of yourself that you would like to upgrade or change? And once you have that, who would I have to become? What would I have to let go of? And then what would I have to embrace to take on that identity? And it might be like the eagle who thought he was a chicken. He would have to let go of that identity of being a chicken and embrace his true self of being an eagle. Or maybe it was like Nelson Mandela, letting go of the belief that he had to be a militant activist and he could be a peacemaker and a statesman. Or maybe your example might be more like the caged bird, where when you have the opportunity to make the change, to have the freedom, you don't want to hesitate. You want to go for it and go all in. Because the difference in life is, am I going half-hearted or am I going all in? When you go all in, that makes all the difference. I have a quote here that I'd like to read. Your true power emerges when you release the identity that confines you and embrace the one that aligns with your highest potential. You have a choice. You have a choice to keep the identity of I'm not good enough and whatever that might be. I'm not smart enough, those types of things. Or you can embrace the truth that you are capable, you are worthy. You can also keep the identity of I can't change. And you can keep that, you can believe that, you can reinforce that, or you can believe that I can grow and improve and have that be your identity. And you can also have the limited identity of I don't deserve love or success, or you can change that and have the identity that I deserve love and success. It's all a matter of what are you willing to accept, what are you willing to embrace as true about yourself. And remember, your identity is not set in stone. You can change it, you can adjust it, but the first thing you have to do is make a decision to do that. All the best to you.